Everybody for Tony is in the room, so.
Oh, I wanted to.
Welcome to everybody. We are especially pleased by all the new people that are here. I know a few of you. If you're new. Oh.
I would love it.
These are the communities that are constantly, yeah, it's hard community way towns, Santa Barbara, and we send their membership, and the week's letters, and they still send me notes from the future, and something they didn't take as far right. That's all. So we have members from here, we also have people like Minneapolis and other assemblies that we do. We actually have some nobody preference members. They can vote and we also have some Republican members, and they can vote for them. Democrats can vote. So please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we start off tonight with a recovery report from several people who attended the national convention. So Deborah and your cohort, come on up. Good evening, Democrats. It's an amazing tonight. So happy to be here. My name is Shirley. I was one of the founding members of Dems, as well as I'm a regional director. And I also really to be a DNC member, and my friend Rose Hoffman and I were both at convention. We're going to give you a little information. This is the Democratic Party I've waited for my entire life. That we all came together to support our candidate, Kamala Harris. The hotel we stayed at was the Hyatt Regency in Chicago. So it didn't matter if we were at the Hyatt Regency or at United Center. For us, our rock stars were our political leaders, like Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and I got to meet Jamie Raskin. And it wasn't unusual to get into an elevator with someone and looking at them, who are they? I had the fortune of getting into the elevator once with Benny Thompson, who was the second chairman of impeachment. He graciously stepped out of the elevator and took a picture with me. But we also got to see real rock stars like Stevie Wonder, John Legend, and Pink. So we had the best of all. A couple of moments that really stood out for me very profoundly was when Ashley Biden introduced her father, President Biden, and he comes out crying. I completely lost it. And I knew I was like sadness, happy, just there's so many different emotions at once. And the woman next to me, who I didn't know, kept hugging me and telling me to me. And one of the second things that stood out to me was when Michelle Obama gave her speech. As we know, everything she needed to say, only one thing said. But in particular, I really enjoyed the fact when she brought up, he's going to tell him. I'm going to tell him that job he is currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs. The whole thing was full of joy and love, and that the last day I said, we need to bottle this stuff, put it in a bottle and bring it home were everywhere that we went. And it was a thing that Michelle Obama had about doing something. And I'm so proud of Indian Democrats because you're all doing something. And you should be very proud of it, Joyful Warriors, because we just might elect the first woman president.
Hi, I'm Louise Baldwin. I'm from the Democratic Party of Orange County, and it's great to see all of you tonight. I'm gonna say that I ran to be a delegate. I had never run before, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. So, and I have a lot of experiences. So, I'm gonna say that, we were very lucky. Every morning, the California delegation had a breakfast, and we had so many fantastic speakers, from Nancy Pelosi to Maxine Waters to Alex Padilla to Josh Shapiro, so many every morning. The highlight of the convention for me as a first timer was just amazing to see all the delegates. We were right beside Pennsylvania, and I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I met some of the people that I see on MSNBC all the time, Malcolm Kenyatta, and also, Josh Shapiro. It was just amazing to have him next to us. We were right up at the stage. It's hard to say what a highlight is of this convention, because there were so many. But I'm gonna say that the actual voting, when we voted, was amazing. To every delegation got up. It was a very long process. California got to be the last one, because we were the state of the nominee, and it was just amazing how long we were engaged. Our whole group was dancing the whole time. Yeah, it was amazing. The other thing is, I'm gonna say that I enjoyed Kamala Harris's speech. I think anyone who's lived in this country with immigrant parents, and understand her experience. Her mother reminded me of my mother, who did speak English, and who always said that if I could speak English and I was born here, I could do more. You know, I have to say that her experience is the middle class experience that most of us have. And I think that we all have more in common than we think we do. Okay, well, I know Linda's here. She's part of our entourage. But I can just say, you all to also vote for Joe Kerr for Congress.
My first convention, I was just getting old enough for that time. I was signing up for the private. I'm getting old, and so I couldn't go out and I couldn't get around for it. And I thought it was going to get right, and it was going to get signed up, and it's going to be boring. And I thought, okay. And then, who knows, it was off the chart exciting. And then I was probably the most exciting convention you've ever heard. And thanks to these systems. And another folks around, it was wonderful. The camaraderie of Chicago was wonderful. They did us with punching at the airport and folks everywhere smiling and giving us directions. The highlight for me, I think, was, yeah, the Harris's speech was great, but Michelle Obama, she said it like it was. That, and the roll call, as you said, was phenomenal. It's like different music for each state, and that was amazing. And the balloon drop, I was fortunate enough to be right in the middle of it. It was exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. And the delegates have to finance themselves, so the big commitment. I mean, thank you for doing it. Okay, moving on, because we have a lot to do. We have candidates tonight. Is Betty Olson here? Betty, where are you? Nobody else. Okay. Moving on. Okay, Susie Warren was supposed to be here, but there were 3 PTA meetings tonight, and her opponent was going to all of them. So she decided she needed to go to the PTA meeting, to be there, so that it wasn't just this woman telling everybody things that are not true. So she's been here with us before, of course. And Susie has been on the board for about, 20 years? And she wasn't gonna run again. But then when she realized what was coming down the pipe, these people were going to take over the school board, she decided to run. So if you would like, thank you very much, Susie. If you would like to, Susie, there's a pink sheet on your table, and you can put your name down, and I will give those pink sheets to Susie. And there's also a yellow sheet on your table if you would like to help with the, they will sit for the, water board. You can fill that out. And we're gonna talk more about these seats in a few minutes, so we don't need to do it now. Yeah, she. Okay, all right. So use those forms to let the ladies know that you want to help them. Okay, this is our agenda. It's sitting on the table, and we do something a little different here, to save time, and also because we don't argue a lot with all of the items that are listed under adoption of consent items have a check mark next to them. Those are all things like adopting the agenda, establishing a forum, adopting minutes, approval of recommendations, the motion to adjourn, that's the bring approve adjournment before we have a meeting, and the treasurer's report, are all on the consent calendar. And in a little while, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the consent calendar, and when I do that, if you want to talk more about some of this, raise your hand and say you want to vote on the consent, and we will talk about it. Okay, this is our last treasurer's report, and as you can see, our balance is going down, which is what we plan to do, because we are giving money away to candidates. They need it, okay? So we're still bringing in a lot of money, but we're also spending a lot of money. So this is our, and Ken, where are you? Ken is our treasurer, so we want all the board details, you can talk to Ken. For those of you that are new, we are a PAC, a political action committee, both at the federal level and the state level. So we report to the FEC and the FTPC. I think you have written like 4 or 5 reports this year.
It's actually a tougher year. Less years ago we started, but hard job.
Okay, this is the background information on candidates that we've already given money to. And then one of them, Sheree Smith, is on the consent calendar tonight. When we finally vote on it tonight, we will have given $29,400 to candidates directly. That's on top of the money we spent printing the packets that are being delivered door to door. So, okay, so, is there a motion to adopt the consent calendar? So moved. So moved.
Yeah.
Ted, okay, second.
Second.
Second to that. Okay. Is there any item on the consent calendar that the body wishes to control so it can be further discussed? Thank you. If you are a member of Canyon Democrats and you are a Democrat, you may vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next, Mike Ito is going to come up here. Mike is the chair of the committee that is going to select who is nominated as officers of the club, and that vote will take place in January. And Mike's email address is there if you're interested, and he's going to talk about it more. We are electing a president, a vice president, a chair, as secretary, right?
Thank you, Louise. To let you know, Louise just mentioned, we're looking for positions, people to be considered for a club chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. If you're a member of good standing and want to be, considered for these positions, you can see me, Sarah Burt, Judy Pike after the meeting, and, we can talk about and consider what you'd like to do. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, and we do need people to step up, so, I'm real serious, I'm not doing this next year. I've been saying that for 2 years, so I think it's, okay, we're gonna have committee reports. And you wanna fill out a graph? One time when the playoffs, it's big part of it, yeah. Okay. Right, what about them?
Yes, invite all of your private members. We made it this weekend, so now we're just ready. Everything's over the top and we're very pleased. And I think we also have more guests and members here, which is wonderful. So we will put you to work and find things for you to do to make this a successful election coming up. So thank you so much. You heard about us through our booth that we had the last couple of weekends. Santa Margarita. Okay, right. And I know thank you, and, I saw somebody walk in with the flyers that we put on people's doorknobs. How many of you heard about us through those flyers that you're putting on doorknobs? Okay. Those will be handed out, so if you didn't get one, don't worry, they're still coming. Okay, just trying, so thank you so much for that. And our, oh, thank you, and also thank you for the furniture shelter donations that you brought tonight. We have a big cart, we're going to take out to somebody's truck and fill it up and deliver those tomorrow. And for those of you that are new, we kind of do a community outreach program, which means every month we do a collection for a nonprofit in the area that is exemplary of Democrat goals and lifestyles and helping others that are less fortunate. So, I know it sounds early for Thanksgiving, but in October, we're going to be doing our Thanksgiving, collection, which I think is going to, okay, I'm forward, right, okay. And, so anything that you can bring, gift cards, usually they like about $25, increments if you are more inclined to do that and honor your food. So, you just bring it, drop it off, and then we deliver it, with our wishes, during the week. So thank you so much for that. Okay.
Part one has a focus group of every one of the communities that we serve, and I know that the Mission Neighborhood Focus Group has some things to talk about. Kathy, where are you? So Kathy is the chair for the Mission Neighborhood Focus Group, and she's going to talk to you about something that's on the ballot. Hello, so how many of you live in Mission Neighborhood? Good, good. So, our Republican city council has put a tax increase on the ballot. I think they should be applauded. So basically what this is, the city of Mission Viejo is putting, a ballot measure to increase the transient occupancy tax from 8%, which it is currently, to 12%. What does that mean? That means that people who stay in hotels, Airbnbs, other short-term rentals will be paying, if this passes, will pay a tax of 12%, a room tax. They're currently paying 8%.
Our current TOT of 8% is one of the lowest in Orange County. And the passage of this measure would increase it to 12%. This is a special tax, which means that the proceeds from it can only be spent on things that have already been specified. And those things are police services, infrastructure maintenance, and funding of emergency responses. After we've seen these fires, I think we want to keep funding our emergency responses. So over the next 4 years, this is from the city's website. Over the next 4 years, the Orange County Sheriff's Department agreement will increase, over the past 4 years. It increased by $4 million. The majority of Mission Viejo city budget goes to the Orange County Sheriff's Department. The vast majority, I mean, it's like a third of our budget. We can sit on that for a little. But this measure is estimated, so passing this transient occupancy tax increase is estimated to generate an additional 670 annually. And those, so it can help to offset what we're already spending. When you get your ballot information, there is arguments for and against. The Chamber of Commerce is actually for this measure. The only person who seems to be against it is Catherine Schlecht, who was a former mayor of Mission Viejo. And if you ever go to the city council members, you're probably, city council meetings, you're probably familiar with Kathy. So I just wanted people in Mission Viejo to be aware of this measure, understand what it would do, and vote accordingly. Because these are the kinds of local issues that don't get covered in the newspaper anymore because we don't have local presses. So just be aware, vote, I'm not advocating one way or the other, but I would like it to pass because I think when Republicans put a tax increase on the ballot, it would do well for us to support them. So anyway, thank you. And if you're interested in joining the Mission Viejo focus group, just come and see me at that table and I'll get your email address. Okay, thank you.
The contact information for the heads of the other focus groups on the screen. Walt, raise your hand, Walt, so he is very fast. Walt, that's Mission Viejo.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy is. And then, Cindy Ashley, or Francis and Margarita, and then Alexander and Forrest. Yeah. And Stephen and Lenny, where are you, Suzanne? There you are. Okay, so I am, in addition to being chair of the club, I'm also the chair of the field team, so I'm reporting on you. As you all know, we were distributing packets, and I know a couple people who have packets with them tonight. They're being walked to doors in Rancho, Mission Viejo, and Lake Forest. These postcards are being sent posted on them to people who live in our area, who live in gated communities or apartment buildings that are hard to distribute door to door. So we're doing close to 10,000 of these. And I know we did over 25,000 of the other ones that are going on doors. And then the next thing is we are getting copies of this doorknob here that you see on the right. They haven't come yet. They've been promised by the state party to the county party, and they weren't there before I left for home. But they tell me they're coming, and as soon as I get my hands on them, I got a curve ready to put the sticker on it in the middle that shows the local Democrats that they're voting for, and we will be distributing these in Liberty Hills. So, right now, I'm thinking, we have a mobilized site that's gonna be set up. If you're interested in helping with this, you sign up on the site, and then we will get back to you. Once we really know we've got everything ready to go, but I'm starting recruitment now. So if you want to pledge to do it, please sign up on the mobilizer. On the table, there should be a green sheet. Look for the green sheet. Pass it around. If you want to help with this, sign up on the green sheet at the end of the meeting. We have the colored sign sheets on the table, and we'll come around and collect it, okay? And that's how we will recruit people to do this. Okay. So, Marty, fundraising. Hello, new friends and new friends. We have a sustained donor program. And what that is a program for those of you who are able to give a little bit more each month for their one-time donation than just your membership. So if you've got an extra dollar or $2 or $5 or $100 every month, and you want to sign up and do this every month, you can go on our website and do that. At the present time, we have 84 sustaining donors, which is fabulous. And so far this year, they've given us an extra $12,120. So that's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that's the blueprint. Oh, that's our, oh, yeah, we did that. How many of you are looking? Great. We are tuning to the charts and the air conditioning, because it was one of those 175 in 3 days. We had a taco truck, the guy was fabulous, we had, candidates here and their representatives, we had a great time, sold merch, we had a truck full of money, thank you very much. And, we are just doing great, and we had a wonderful time. I didn't hear anybody complaining, but we had a good time. And Josh really came with his ice cream truck, which was a real fun. I love it. Okay, we are gonna have one more pop-up rally. Yeah. Oh, 1 or 2. 2 more. Okay, this Saturday and the following Saturday. For those of you who wanted medium, V-neck shirts or large, we ran out, but we will have them on Saturday at the pop-up. So it's right off of Santa Margarita Parkway in that Ralph Center between Margarita and Margaritos. You know where that is? Okay. Easy to find. And it's been so heartening when we are out there and we see people driving by in their cars and they're honking and they're waving and they're pulling U-turns so that they say, we didn't know that you were here, we didn't know anybody in Orange County was selling our merch. But always see that orange guys, people. And they pay them to do that. It's not like they volunteer. So volunteers, so we want to do it. So 2 more pop-ups, 10 to 3. That's okay, so come by if you need mediums or larges in the next and all the other kind of really cool stuff that we got. Come on by. If you want to sign up and help, come for an hour or a couple of 2 to help out, you can sign up on the Roblox. Then, October's meeting, next time here, we're going to sell hot dogs, chips, and a soda for $10, so come and have dinner with us. And then our real brunch. This is our big celebration at the end of every year. This year it's the first Saturday in December, so we are already starting to work on it. We have a thing called a wine bowl, and that's where we have lots of bottles of wine worth at least $20. You pay $20, you get a free one. So if you've got wine sitting around that you don't care for, somebody gave you as a gift, it's worth at least $20. Or you want to just pick up a bottle at your favorite wine shop and bring it to us, we will be happy to take that off your hands and put it into our donations for our wine bowl. We will also be having our silent auction and our opportunity drawings. So we'll be collecting any kind of merchandise or any kind of donations you might have for that. We've had things in the past where we've had seamstresses who have made us quilts, and we've had people who have given us paintings, and we've had people who have given us dishes, and just, you name it, we put it in the basket. Books and tickets and, opportunities to go to the theater, or, you know, all kinds of different things. So anything that you think might be, good for that somebody else would want to see in the basket, bring it, we'll be happy to take it. Also, we're gonna have some unique sponsorship, opportunities this year, some things we're trying to do, we're working a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Okay, and that's it, for me. Thank you, Katie, that is all you have. So this is the meeting part, and now we're gonna get to the presentation part, so I gotta switch over on my computer to the other, file. But please, at the end of the meeting, do us a big favor. There's a lot of paperwork on the table, because we want to give you as much information as possible. Please take it home. If you don't want to take it home, leave it on the table, but it would be really nice if somebody at the table could just stack things up in categories, so then we can come around and collect it, okay? But this room is too big for people at 8:30 or 9 o'clock to be collecting it, so you can really help us, okay? There is another piece of paper on the desk that says ballot review notes. So you should get that one. And I put a space on the right hand side where you could write down what you're thinking you might want to do when it comes to voting. Okay? And I'm sorry if the folks who are on the side didn't get one. I printed, we argued about how many to make, and I upped it by 10 and made 150. So I'm sorry, folks, if I didn't do enough. But I would be happy if you email me at opiniondems.org.
We have some extras if anybody wants one.
And I will respond by sending you that.
They're here too.
Which one do you want? Just the-
I think.
Well, we're gonna do, that's the evening.
I don't think we need.
We're gonna remind you of the dates and important information about,
There's one more.
voting. And then we're gonna talk about the candidates, and then we'll have questions. And then I'm gonna get out of the way and have Michael Saul come and talk about the propositions, and then we'll have more questions. Okay? So that's our agenda for the rest of the evening. Okay, so important dates, and I got a block over here. Okay, I'm gonna walk around a little bit so I can see what's up on the screen. Okay, so these are the important dates, and I'm really glad you're all here, because I know that you're gonna be important in getting people out to vote and giving them the correct information. Your neighbors, your friends, people at work, in the grocery store, somebody's gonna come up about who can register, when can they vote, and you're gonna know the right information. So October 7th, ballots begin arriving in your home in the mail. So you should see it, if you're registered to vote and you don't get it in 3 or 4 days after that, call the registrar of voters. The last day to register online is October 21st. So if somebody you know isn't registered, they need to try and get it done by then. On October 26th, the vote centers begin to open. Those are the offices they have in each city. And then all of them open on the 2nd of November. You can register and vote at the same day at a vote center. So suppose somebody who's been away at school comes home. And they go, oh, well, it's too late to register, it's after the 21st. No. You just take them to the vote center, they register, and they vote provisionally at the vote center. So everybody gets to vote right up to election day, okay? November 3rd is the last day to put your ballots in the mail. That's what I recommend. And the reason I recommend that is because if the ballot arrives at the registrar of voters office after the 12th of November, it goes in the trash. If it gets stuck in the bottom of the mailbox, or if it was dropped in the truck somewhere, okay? So the best thing to do is if you're gonna, if you have to mail it, get it out early, okay? And then November 5th is the last day in person drop it off at a vote center. Now, here's the vote centers, Lake Forest is gonna have one at the Senior Center Clubhouse in the, out by City Hall. Michigan has a drive-through at the Civic Center near where the library is. In Rancho Santa Margarita, it's also at the branch library. And then the Lagoon Hills and the Lagoon Woods ones a little later. You can also drop off ballots at these locations, and the hours are up there. Basically, they all open, and nearer the election, they stay open later and later, okay? So the vote centers are a great place to go, whatever problems we have, go to the vote center that take care of it. Now, when you get your ballot, it is really important that you start at the bottom. Why do we say that? Because that's where the city council is, that's where the school board is, that's where all those really important races that people skip over. They vote for president, they vote for senate, maybe they vote for Congress, like, oh, no, you're not done until you vote for those local offices. And if you look at the list, that we send out, it's those local offices start at the top, okay? You have to use the envelope provided by the legislature, you can't put it in your own white business envelope, don't do that. There are directions that tell you to sign the envelope. You need to make sure your signature on the envelope matches the one on your driver's license or the one you provided when you registered to vote, because they actually look them up. I stood there and watched the staff do this, okay? If none of them match, if the signature on your envelope doesn't match, they're gonna call you up and let you cure your ballot, okay? So they won't give up, but, don't fiddle around, just putting like your first initial instead of your first name, write it the way it's on your driver's license. Okay, starting on October 7th, you can drop off your ballot at one of the secure drop boxes. This is the best way to turn it in. Rather than the mail, put it in one of those drop boxes, because the staff from the registrar of voters, 2 people go and pick up those ballots almost daily, okay? And they go directly to the registrar of voters, so there's no chance of your ballot being lost. So that is way better than the US mail. I still don't trust that to join. I know who they so once again, it has to be posted on by election day. Go to the vote center and drop off ballots, that's fine too. If you misplace your ballot or you make a mistake, go to the vote center. It's a theme. Any problem, where do you go? Right, okay. If you're helping a friend, you can also do that and turn in the ballot form, but there's a special section on the envelope that you have to fill out and sign. So you need to make sure that the ballot reaches the registrar of voters, so you can go to where'smyballot.sos for Secretary of State.ca.gov, and it will track the ballot. And it will send you an email telling you where your ballot is. It's been received, it's been counted, da.
Question,
Pardon?
question. I have a question. So if I have my ballot and my mom's and my dad's and my sister, I can't take them all and put them in the box? Yes, you can.
Yeah. That's right, you can. Yes.
If they sign it and put their ID number on there, that's fine. Okay.
You cannot turn in somebody else's ballot unless that section is filled in on the back of the envelope that allows you to do that, because that's how they keep people from doing nefarious bad things. Okay, they need to know who's turning in the ballot for someone else. So can you do that? Yes. Should you do that? No. You should fill out the correct part on the envelope and turn it in. So where's my ballot? sos.ca.gov. Okay, and there's another site that you can use where you get other kinds of information, ocvote.gov/BLT. Okay? So you can confirm your registration, review your elected officials, download the voter information guide. They're making it really, really easy. They're gonna mail the voter information guide to you anyway. Soon. It will be coming before you get your ballot. Okay, I promise. Yeah. Right, right. It's coming, it comes, one version of it comes from the state and another from the registrar of voters, but it is coming. Okay, now I need to talk about this, okay? Our constitution as a club says, under no circumstances may a club consider the endorsement of a candidate for public office who is not registered with the Democratic Party. You should say support instead of endorse, but that's okay. Which gives us problems sometimes, because we know that sometimes we don't have a Democrat running. And we, we want to make sure our members know what's going on. So I'm going to try this little dance along this, what I call the fine line, okay? Where I'm providing you with information, but I'm not supporting or endorsing somebody who is not a Democrat, okay? So we'll see, and I'm on a really ticklish position here, because the guy who is the enforcer for the party is here. As well as two members of the Senate, three members of the Senate committee that I know. Okay, so we'll see how well I do this. And if they stand up and start waving their arms, you know I can. Okay. Okay, so this is our voter guide, and you notice if you have one in front of you, that the very first thing says, Saddle Valley Unified School District number 2, do not vote for Scott Miller. Why? Because he's a Republican, and we don't want you to vote for him. Okay, and we'll talk about who you might want to consider voting for in a moment. But that's why it's really odd stuff from us, is because we're trying not to break this rule. Okay? Here's why. I'll jump up and scream. I wanted to have great music behind it, but I knew if I tried to do that, I'd mess it up again. But of course, they're on the ballot. They're at the top of the ballot. Okay, below them is Adam Schiff, who is running for the Secretary of State. There you have it. Adam, of course, was one of the managers in the impeachment. Yeah. And he stood tall and, got deals by the Republicans for it, so we need to really support Adam. Okay, and now there really is a very, beside president, which is not special enough. The House of Representatives right now is controlled by the Republicans, okay? And that creates all sorts of problems. It would create lots of problems for Camilla if she gets elected and she has a Republican House of Representatives. My kids yell at me, and everybody yells at me. Okay, so the problem is that there's a now majority of of 5 seats that we have to make we have to, the Democrats have to end up with a majority in the House. And the only way they're gonna do it is by winning seats in California. So the path to Democratic control of the House of Representatives runs to Orange County. It does. Okay, so on the top row are people who are outside of my club area. Dave Nin, Derek Tran, and Mike Levin. Although Mike has just a little tiny piece, a little further, and I think. Dave has just a little. Okay, so we have given these folks, all of these folks, money. Why are we giving money to people who are out in Moreno Valley and Lancaster? Because we want to win the House. Okay? So, most of you can't vote for any of these folks, but you can give them money, and you can write those cards for them, or you can make telephone calls for them. You can do whatever you want. The ones in Orange County, that are in our area, these are all winnable seats. Derek Tran, out in West Orange County, Dave Min along the coast, Mike Levin to the south, and our own Joe Kerr right in our area. So Joe's district kind of wanders around from Chino Hills all the way down to Cover the Cosmo. Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, you know, the people who took these systems for this new group they set up. And, yeah, so anyway, so Joe's working really hard with everything, they're passing out his literature and all the wars and everything to try and get him elected. But it's really important. And there's on your table, there's a small red flyer. It tells you what's wrong with him. Okay, so this is a placeholder. So we're starting to talk about the local races. Ryan Dapp is running for the South Orange County Community College District Area 6. He is an incumbent. We supported him the last time he ran. He's really sharp. His opponent is a Republican, so we definitely want him to get elected. Okay, now here's one of these things where I'm bouncing on the line, okay? The South Orange County Community College District, I'm sorry. I did that. Oh, you know what? I didn't put this one on the list. This one is not on the list, because I added it later. Okay, so in the South Orange County Community College District, area 7, and that's the same community college district that Ryan back. There is no Democrat running. There is Timothy Jamal, who is a no party preference registration. He is being opposed. He is the incumbent. He is being opposed by a Republican. Obviously, not the perfect choices for us. We'd like a Democrat there, but we don't have one. Would we prefer to have a Republican elected or a party preference person elected? Up to you. Okay. Did I dance on line again? Right. So we have a big problem, folks. This is a really big problem here locally. And it's been happening in other parts of Orange County. It's come to us. There are these two groups that are both way MAGA that are trying to take over school board. It's just that simple. They want to ban the books. They want to get rid of any kind of sex education, middle diversity training, nothing like that. Okay. So there's Moms for Liberty. It identifies as part of the modern parental rights movement. It grew out of opposition to, public health regulations for COVID, like masks. It opposes LGBTQ and racially inclusive school curriculum, and is advocated for book bans, okay? It endorses Scott Miller, who's running against, he's a Republican now, against Michelle Sparks for the Saddleback Valley School District, okay? So obviously, we want you to be aware of this, even though we are not endorsing or supporting Michelle Sparks. Okay, so Moms for America also have a similar program. They protest school mask mandates, express support for Donald Trump, and they sponsored the January 6th March to Save America that went up to the Capitol and tore the shit out of it. And they are endorsing Michelle Obama, who is running against Susan Schwartz. Okay? They're swooning. So if you want to help Susan, remember you can put your name on the yellow sheet or the pink sheet and put it on the pink sheet, and we'll give those pink sheets to Susan and she'll know who wants to help her. Okay, so these are the 3 districts that are up in the Saddleback Valley. And we already talked about, some of it, but I'm gonna go over it one more time, okay? So I'm sure I get it right. Okay, so Sparks is an NPP who's running against Republican. Susie is the Democratic incumbent running against the Democratic person. And Standard is the worst of the 2 Republicans. The other Republican, Amanda Morell, who is an incumbent on the board, has been endorsed by Ray. So we make your choice.
And as a member of the school board, I beg you all to give me people to work with. I mean, I'm on the school.
Okay. In Capistrano Unified, we have a similar kind of problem. There are 3 Democrats and 1 NPP running against the MAGA Republicans. The NPP is Michael Carney, but he's running against Republicans. But we can't support or endorse. Okay, I got this email from Frances Bell, who is the former chair of our club, and she was very blunt about it. She said this election is a version of the Holy War that will throw Capistrano Unified into complete chaos and will take years to recover from. Please encourage people to reach out to friends and family in these areas and vote for Democrat and 1 NPP. So, you know, this is about who's going to control our schools and what's going to be taught in those schools. So it's really, really important. Okay, city councils. We don't have any good news here either. Okay, in Lake Forest, there are 2 seats up, and guess what? Nobody filed to run against these people. So if we had filed a Democrat, we would have had a race, but we didn't file a Democrat. Okay, so bad on us. We shouldn't do that again. That's a really bad thing for us. Okay. The only good news was that Robert Cato used to be a Republican. He's now an NPP. So we just need to keep pushing him a little bit more, because he stands up for all the things we stand up for. But in 2 years, we're going to have 3 seats up in Lake Forest. So we need to start January 1 to find those 3 candidates and help them get ready to go. Okay, because I'm tired of doing these reviews and seeing all these Republican folks. Same thing in Laguna Hills. There are 3 candidates up. 2 of them are Republicans. 1 of them is an NPP. So for people who live in Laguna Hills, if they want Nate Patel to win, they should only vote for him and not for, if there's 2 seats, but you only vote for one, it's called bullet voting. Because if you vote for one of the other Republicans, you help them get elected. So that's what you can tell folks in the mental. Okay, Richard's now Margarita, similar problem. We have, the mayor and one seat up this time, because they kind of gerrymandered the darn thing. All of the people running are Republicans, but one Republican there is seen as more mainstream. So take that for what it's worth. But again, this is to the club. What are we gonna do after January to make sure that we have Democrats to run for these 3 seats? We have a lot of opportunities and we have drawn the ball. Okay? Oh, Ricky Day, I know what's happening there. Well, the way that after the lawsuits and everything, all 4 seats were elected at one time, and we won one of them, Cynthia Baskins. And people are very young, but we still do not know what their plan is for how to stagger the term, if they're ever going to stagger terms, and which seats are going to be up next time, and they're not rushing to tell us. And I have been bugging Cynthia like crazy, but she hasn't given me an answer. So that is another big opportunity and a big problem. Okay, water districts. There are 2 kinds of water districts, retail and wholesale. The retail ones are the water that comes out of your tap. They're the retail, water district like Lowell, Tribuco, Toro, Irvine. They don't follow city boundaries, they wander all over the place, because they were all set up back in this ranch land. And then we also have a metropolitan water district, which I'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so we have 2 people running that were supporting, who are Democrats, thank you. Barbara Foster is running in, the Robinson Ranch and Tribuco Water Canyon District. Tribuco Highlands, Walden, no idea what it is. Miranda Fiello, Doug Kennedy, Sonny Canyon Estates. And then David Olson, who's running in Rancho, Coto, Australia, and so we're hoping to elect those folks if you live in those areas, we vote for them. And help them, and if you would like to help Betty, there's a yellow rule, page on your table, you can put your name on it, and you'll come back with information, and I'll give it to you. I can. This is the thing, and Mark will bring the water. Yeah, but the Eddie is not running in your area. Not all of Michigan Cable is in the same. They provide, like the city council. So when you get your ballot, if you see her, please vote for her, but you may not. Really, my water is really close to. Is they divide the community up. They try, the water district people don't think they belong, so they just draw the line wherever they want. That's why we need to get some sane people elected. Yes, Barbara. Yeah, say that, Barbara.
I'm running this Republicans is a nonpartisan, I've been stuffing a letter into the mailbox of residents representatives, so, everything's going really well, funding would be nice, but the neighbors are really supportive. The interesting thing about the 2 Republicans. The interesting thing about the 2 Republicans, even though it's nonpartisan, all of their campaign materials are very negative. It's, you don't like what they're doing, you don't like this, you don't like that. And I have copies of this letter, I have copies of my campaign material, which is here, you're welcome to take. But what this is a letter I'm sending to everybody in Dove Canyon where I live, basically talking about why we've gotten ourselves in this problem and how we get out of it. And our big thing is the Orange County Grand Jury did a report that talks about Tribuco Canyon water needs to join the others.
That's amazing. And you think it's something that is in the canvas and nothing.
Okay, good. All right, I was just checking, I want to keep you out of trouble. Okay, so for the municipal water district, we have a great candidate, Frank Gomez. He's the chair of the Central Orange County Democrat Club and a professor at Cal State Fullerton. He's a really great guy, and he's been asked to talk to us early on, and we're really supporting him. Okay, so any questions about any of this? Okay.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Barney.
Register online. How did they verify their signature?
How do they verify what?
Their signature when they register to vote on.
Well, you'd be surprised that, the register of voters has, access to the, DMV database. So they can see the signature that you use when you sign up for your, driver's license. And almost everybody has a driver's license or an ID card, so.
So you never input a signature when you sign
No,
up.
no. Right. Okay, so any other questions? Yes.
My question is just about your presentation. Is that gonna be available anywhere?
Actually,
The website?
I'll tell you what, I would rather have you just take that piece of paper with you. I mean, you know, I'm trying not to, I'm dancing on the line. And I'm afraid that if I put it online, somebody in another club is gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna eat it, and why can't you do it?" So, okay, all right. I'm giving you as much as I can give you without getting us in trouble.
Okay.
And again, okay, so I'm going to say a few words about propositions in general. They're confusing, people don't know what to do with them. And generally, I advocate for less propositions on the ballot. Would you like fewer propositions on the ballot? Okay, stop sending those things out. The problem with propositions is that they generate a lot of money for political operatives who pay people so much a signature to stand outside the market, okay? And most of that money comes from special interest groups that we don't like,
Yeah.
okay? And professional firms who make signature collection of citizens, okay? There are a lot of initiatives, we don't need so many, and a study found that over 4 decades, the initiatives have tended to be more physically and socially conservative, so we don't like the ones we're getting. Okay, and this gives you an idea of the money that's being spent, this is in millions, okay? I'm sure that it's up over $1 billion now because this goes through 21 and 22. And then there can be some really strange things happening. If you're a billionaire venture capitalist, you thought we should break the state up into parts and put an initiative on the ballot. And then, we've had, nonprofits who do really crazy things. So these ballot propositions create a lot of trouble. I don't think it's been as bad this year, but it's been very bad in the past. And I have a question for you. If this is what one of these guys would like, why would you put your signature on a piece of paper when you don't even know if it's a valid and been approved by the Secretary of State? And you're giving them a signature, an address, a phone number, God knows what else, and he's going on the dark web and selling it to somebody. Okay, I mean, I go by the market, those guys are out there and I stand there and tell them, don't sign it. You know? Then you gotta decide which way to vote, and that's gonna be, my friend Michael Saul's problem. So, I'm gonna go pull up this presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Saul. I am the former chair of the Lisa Miguel Democratic Club, and Lisa Miguel. I'm now the director of Democratic Clubs for the Democratic Party in Orange County, which means I help supervise and administer our 22 clubs countywide. This is one of our biggest ones. I love seeing it turn out this big, and I love seeing so many people. So I agree with everything we just said about the problems with the initiative system in California. I'm going to tell you which initiatives are the kind that originated the signature gatherers and which came from the legislature and that must be presented to the people. So those are bond measures and constitutional amendments must be presented to the voters. And so they present somewhat different issues than the special interest initiatives that we're going to be talking about. We have 10 on the 10 on the ballot this year. And just for context, part of my goal in this presentation is to arm you not just with the recommendation of the California Democratic Party, but also to explain to you what the measures are about and the arguments for and against. Because by being in this room, you are already one of the most informed people in your social circle. You're going to have friends or family members or neighbors who are going to ask you for advice. And now you're going to have a whole bunch of information, probably more than you ever wanted to know, to share with them. So let's move on. The first proposition this year is Proposition 2. You may remember that Proposition 1 was on the March ballot, so that's why we're starting with 2. The Public Facilities Bond Measure. This measure authorizes $10 billion in bonds to fund the construction and modernization of public education facilities. 8.5 billion of that is for elementary and secondary schools. 1.5 billion is for community colleges. These funds are matching funds for local districts, meaning that the local district will issue a local bond measure, get approval from their local residents, and then apply to the state for a matching amount of money to construct the facilities that they are seeking to build or repair with that bond measure. In March 2020, there was a similar bond measure that failed. The last school bond measure that passed was in 2016. Those funds are exhausted. The state's school repair fund is almost entirely exhausted. And there are $3.4 billion in existing projects waiting matching funds from the state. So there's a desperate backlog for this money, which is why there's no organized opposition to this bond measure. However, the supporters include the California Federation of Teachers, the California Labor Federation, Chamber of Commerce, the Democratic Party, and the League of Women Voters. So I'm encouraging you all as the party to vote yes on Proposition 2. Any questions on this one? Yes.
Is there any else?
I don't know off the top of my head. Ted, I'm sorry. Up next, Proposition 3, the right to marry and repeal Proposition 8 amendment. This initiative repeals 2008's Proposition 8, which limited marriage in California to being between a man and a woman. It replaces that language with a statement that the right to marry is a fundamental right. Why are we doing this now? It's because of the conservative Supreme Court and the risk that after they've overturned Roe versus Wade, they will overturn Obergefell as well and undo the federal constitutional protection for same-sex marriages. In that circumstance, we don't want our state constitution to include a prohibition on same-sex marriage. And so, beyond just being the right thing to do, this is a way of protecting same-sex couples in California from justice tunnels. So please vote yes on Proposition 3. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Proposition 4, the Parks, Environment, Energy, and Water Bond Measure. This measure would issue $10 billion in bonds to fund state and local parks, projects for environmental protection, water infrastructure, energy, and flood protection. It is billed largely as addressing a need related to climate change. Much of this money will go to climate change related projects, especially around water supply and coastal protection. Not all of it will. Every time that you have a bond measure like this, it's a little bit like a Christmas tree and everyone gets to hang an ornament. So, you know, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but the largest sums of money are dedicated for water supply and flood protection, forest health and wildfire protection, coastal restoration, and marine wildlife. The supporters include the California Federation of Teachers, the Labor Federation, every environmental group you can think of in the state, the League of Women Voters, and the California Democratic Party. I don't know why I was to say that after I fix it. Opponents, as expected, the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Why vote yes? Gavin recently proposed over $50 billion in climate spending in 2022, and when the budget didn't have the revenue that we were all hoping for and it had to be cut, those funds all got cut. This is a small way to help make up some of that funding and ensure that climate projects in California are getting the money they needed. So again, please vote yes on Proposition 4. Any question on this? No. Okay. Proposition 5, the lower supermajority requirement to 55% for local bond measures to fund housing and public infrastructure amendment. Under the Constitution today, local bond measures require a 2/3 majority for approval, meaning, you know, in a vote by the voters in the relevant district. This lowers that percentage to 55% for certain types of projects. Affordable housing projects, you can see the definition up there, that includes a wide range of projects that we intuitively understand as being about affordable housing, as well as infrastructure projects, which includes a wide variety of projects fitting the broad definition of public infrastructure, which includes climate change related projects. This constitutional amendment has been proposed after the failure of some prominent local bond measures, especially in Northern California, where more than 60% of the public was voting for these measures, but they weren't passing. And so that's why we're seeing this. The 2/3 majority is too restrictive, and it allows a relatively small group of voters to stifle the wishes of the vast majority of the public. Proponents include the California Democratic Party, the Building Trades Union, unions, the California Professional Firefighters, California Unity, and the League of Women Voters. Opponents are the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Republican Party, and the Association of Realtors. So a set of those. Why vote yes? Supermajority requirements are undemocratic, fundamentally, and you know, we are the Democratic Party for a reason. So vote yes on Proposition 5. Any questions on this one? I know it's a little more technical than the others. Yes, right.
So it's only for bonds, that it will lower to 55% majority to vote in it.
Correct. It's only bond measures and only when those bonds are for affordable housing or public infrastructure projects.
So what is it now, the percentage?
2/3. Yes.
Do they require a higher level of oversight when it passes in like 55% as opposed to the 66.67 like on the school bond? Where they have citizen oversight committees and that on school bonds?
This measure doesn't change any oversight requirements. Any other questions? Okay.
Excuse me, what,
Yes.
is there an opportunity for mischief where part of what they're proposing is affordable housing to get the lower, but there's a whole other part of the project that comes in behind it as part of one big thing?
No, I don't think so. if there is mischief, and some of the opposition here is that they think that the definitions of affordable housing and public infrastructure are too broad, and that you could maybe play some games with that. I'm personally less concerned with that. I'd support a 55% threshold for all local bond measures, regardless of purpose. And, but you can see, I tried to summarize it, the definitions of what these are in the actual amendment, which is available to you online and in your sample ballot. You can read it yourselves and make your own assessment as to whether you think it's too broad, but I tend to think it's just fine. Okay, Proposition 6, the removed involuntary servitude as a punishment for crime amendment. The 13th Amendment to the Federal Constitution prohibits involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime. Most states have enacted similar versions in their own, at one time, enacted similar versions in their constitutions. The Jim Crow South drove a truck through that exception, criminalized a ton of behavior, over-prosecuted African Americans, and then put them to work on the chain gang, often in the very fields where their enslaved ancestors had been working previously. We are at the point now where only 8 states still have that exception. Notably progressive Alabama has eliminated this loophole, and we has adopted that. Why is this on the ballot right now? California's had a task force for the last few years looking at reparations to descendants of enslaved African Americans in the United States. This was one of the recommendations of the task force that also conveniently didn't require the appropriation of money. But that's why that's on here now. Proponents include the Democratic Party, the Labor Fed, the ACLU, civil rights organizations, and the League of Women Voters. There's no organized opposition. Some Republican lawmakers were concerned that this would require paying incarcerated people minimum wage who do work. That's not what this will do. The Department of Corrections will continue to set the rate of compensation. All it does is make sure that prison work assignments are voluntary instead of mandatory, and then it allows people who voluntarily take work assignments to receive time credits for their release for having participated in those programs. Any questions about Prop 6? Yes.
More of a comment. I heard that a lot of it had to do with working on the fires, doing like bad noise over the fires.
So the question was, or the comment was about this having to do with working on the fires. That has been a issue of some concern that we fight a lot of our wildfires with people who are incarcerated, and then especially when they get out, they are ineligible to be firefighters. And so that has been a concern for years, as a fundamental injustice. This is, I don't know how much this ballot proposition is addressed to that issue specifically, but it is, there are many more types of work assignments given to incarcerated people than just firefighting, and they are frequently paid as little as 60 or 70 cents per hour for the work that they do. Okay, anything else on this? No, excellent. You can tell by the number of Proposition 32 that we jumped ahead a lot. These, from here on, these are all initiatives that were put on the ballot by those signature gatherers. So everything before that came from the legislature. This is all coming from signature gatherers. Proposition 32, California's $18 minimum wage initiative. This initiative would raise the state minimum wage to $18 an hour and thereafter adjust the minimum wage to match increases in the cost of living. California's current minimum wage is $16 an hour with a whole bunch of exceptions. $16 an hour that will be matched to inflation over time. Several cities have higher minimum wages. We also have industry-specific minimum wages of $25 an hour for healthcare workers and $20 an hour for fast food workers. The current $16 minimum wage pencils out to about $33,000 a year. The cost of living, the average cost of living in California is $53,000 per year, so not very enough. Supporters of this initiative include the California Democratic Party, some Democratic legislators in the League of Women Voters. Opponents are the Chamber of Commerce, the Restaurant Association, the Republican Party, and a large number of business organizations. I will note that some unions and public policy groups are refrained from supporting the ballot measure because they would prefer to see industry-specific minimum wages, or because they just don't think that actually this is enough, and they think it should be going up by more than $18 an hour. Why vote yes? Quite simply, the minimum wage is too low. And some of the industry-specific laws have produced some anomalies, where fast food workers have a higher minimum wage than, maybe other service jobs of similar type. Any questions on Proposition 32? Yes.
Does it also close some of those exceptions that you referred to?
No, this just sets a new baseline across the board. It doesn't change any of the other existing laws. Okay, we are recommending a yes vote on Proposition 32. Proposition 33, the prohibit state limitations on rent control initiative. This initiative would repeal the Costa-Hawkins Act and prohibit future state laws that prohibit or restrict local rent control measures. If this sounds similar, it's because it's basically the third time we've seen this initiative over the last 6 years, 8 years. The Costa-Hawkins Act effectively prohibits rent control for any building built after the mid-1970s. It also functionally prohibits a lot of cities from enacting new rent control ordinances. In 2018, there was a ballot measure that would have repealed it. It failed. In 2020, there was an initiative that would have replaced the Costa-Hawkins Act with a more complicated set of permitted rent control and prohibited rent control. That also failed. There is a current state law that will expire within the next 10 years, but there's currently a state law imposing a rent increase, a cap on rent increases for apartments in corporate-owned single-family homes at 5% plus inflation, or a maximum of 10%. Supporters of this initiative include the California Democratic Party, the Nurses Association, Bernie Sanders, housing rights groups, and Unite Here Local 11, as well as truly nightmarish Republican Council member Tony Strickland in Huntington Beach. We'll talk about that. The opponents include the Republican Party, the Apartment Association, real estate developer groups, California YIMBY, the Carpenters Union, and State Senator Tony Atkins, who's good. I'll talk about that too. Why do we have these strange bedfellows? The answer is, there's an argument that has been advanced by some people that this initiative will effectively unwind a lot of the affordable housing laws that the state legislature has passed over the last 10 years. Tony Strickland doesn't like them, and so thinks that's a good thing. Tony Atkins does like them, and so thinks it's a bad thing. I've read the initiative language, and I have searched for any explanation of the legal mechanism by which this initiative would undermine existing affordable housing laws, and I can't find one. I can only find people saying that it will, but not explaining how. And therefore, I don't believe it. So why don't guess on this? This initiative doesn't mandate rent control, it doesn't impose it anywhere. It just lets each local government decide if it's the right fit for them. And in the cities and counties around the state, we have different problems with rent control. With rising rents and with housing supply. And so they can decide for themselves whether this is a good measure or a bad measure given their specific concerns. How many of you are aware of the antitrust litigation that the federal government has filed against corporate landlords for price fixing using AI algorithms? Okay. This is one way to help address that issue, not directly, indirectly, but that entire process only works by forcing landlords to ratchet up rents across the board based on what other people are doing. And any mechanism we have to help restrain that will help address that issue. That's why I'm voting yes on this, and I encourage you to vote yes as well. Any questions on this initiative? Okay. Proposition 34. Require certain participating Medi-Cal RX programs to spend 98% of revenues on patient care initiative. Why does it say no position? It says no position because the California Democratic Party took no position. I will personally be voting no on this. Why? Well, what this does is it has a very complicated definition to figure out who it applies to. And then it requires them to spend 98% of their revenues on patient care. I'm not going to explain that set of definitions because it applies to one group and one group only in the entire state, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation operates clinics and prescription drug services for people with HIV or AIDS and has done so since the AIDS crisis at a time when it was not really possible for people to get the medical treatment they needed if they had those diseases. It also has operated or is operating housing in downtown Los Angeles for people who are unhoused or who need affordable housing. They've been accused of being a slumlord. It's a little controversial. But the AIDS Healthcare Foundation also relentlessly sponsors or promotes ballot initiatives, including the rent control initiative we just talked about and the previous two, which is why the California Realtors Association, who's tired of seeing rent control ordinances, has decided to try to destroy the AIDS Healthcare Foundation using this initiative. If this passes, then it would be functionally prohibited from continuing to sponsor or promote ballot initiatives without losing their ability to operate their funds. And so that's really what this is, about stifling their participation in the initiative process. Now, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation is a controversial organization. They've taken a number of positions that I and other Democrats and progressives disagree with. That might be why there was not, the party didn't come to a position on this. But personally, I will not abide this type of warfare against someone's political opponent using a ballot initiative. I think it is an abuse of the system, and that is why I'm personally voting no, encouraging all of you to vote no as well, regardless of what you think of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Proponents, the Republican Party, the California Party Association, and the ALS Association. Why the ALS Association? Because they've also thrown something in this initiative to permanently reauthorize the Medi-Cal RX program, which authorizes the negotiation of drug prices. But that's a small piece of what's really happening here. Opponents are the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, Housing and Human Rights, the National Organization for Women and Consumer Watchdog. Any questions on this? No. Okay. Proposition 35, the Managed Care Organization Authorization Initiative. The California Democratic Party is recommending a yes vote. This initiative permanently authorizes a tax on managed care organizations, insurance plans, that participate in the Medi-Cal program based on their number of their monthly enrollees. California has had this tax on and off for a while. The current version expires in 2026. When this current version of the tax was reauthorized last year, the plan was to dedicate the money from this tax to increasing Medi-Cal reimbursement rates and covering expanded Medi-Cal enrollment. Because of the budget crisis this year, that money got redirected to other purposes. So this initiative has been sponsored by a variety of healthcare organizations and groups in order to lock that money back into the original purpose, the 2023 purpose, which was increasing Medi-Cal reimbursement rates. But going forward, it will also lock in an allocation for that money into the future indefinitely, unless the legislature votes to change it with a 3/4 majority vote, so 75% vote of the legislature. So what does this mean in practice? Near-term increases in Medi-Cal reimbursement rates with the risk of a long-term misallocation of funds if the legislature isn't able to agree to adjust that funding mechanism in a way that meets future conditions. There are some other concerns here. We don't tax private insurance plans at the same rate as the Medi-Cal one. We tax them much lower. Right now, the federal government lets us do that. If the federal government changed their mind and prohibited that kind of discriminatory taxing, then California could have some problems where our tax revenues for this program would fall. That is harder to predict. In any event, there's bipartisan support for this initiative from the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, Planned Parenthood, a variety of healthcare organizations, labor unions, etc. There is no organized opposition. However, it has been criticized by public policy groups, including the League of Women Voters, that object to ballot box budgeting, which is when an initiative ties the hands of the legislature and has been done. So if that's a concern for you, something to think about on this, but the recommendation is a yes vote to increase Medi-Cal reimbursement rates, which is what the purpose of that task was. Yes.
I read somewhere that Governor Newsom may be opposing this.
So Governor Newsom said he'd be opposing this, but I haven't seen anything where he's, put actual money into opposing it. There is no organized opposition committee, so you're unlikely to see ads in opposition at least at this point. Any other questions about this one?
Why is he opposing it?
Well, he's the one whose budget reallocated the funding to fill other shortfalls in the Medi-Cal program, and so, that's part of what this is that he thinks that the budget this year did what it needed to do with this money, given the budget shortfall overall, and doesn't like this initiative reallocating that the way it's going to cause problems for his budget going forward. Okay. Proposition 36, the last one, we're almost done. Increased drug and death penalties and reduce homelessness initiative. This is a no vote on Proposition 36. Forgive me, I can't remember the years off the top of my head. In 2014, Proposition 47 was passed, which reduced certain non-violent felonies to misdemeanors. Republicans have been trying to overturn that ever since, and this is their current effort. What it does is it unwinds those criminal justice reforms, classifying certain drug offenses in such a way as to require treatment upon conviction, and if treatment is not pursued or completed, then the person convicted could be sentenced to prison. It increases penalties for drug crimes and theft, and it requires courts to warn people convicted of distributing illegal drugs that they could face increased penalties if they do it again. If I can say that already. Supporters include the California Republican Party, the District Attorneys Association, State Sheriffs Association, San Francisco Mayor London Breed, and some Democratic legislators, as well as Walmart, Target, and a variety of retail companies. Opponents, the Democratic Party, the ACLU, civil rights groups, the League of Women Voters, and other Democratic legislators. So why vote no? Because it's unnecessary and it won't work. There's very little evidence that increased prison sentences actually deter people engaging in crime. Crime rates, including for these categories of crime, are down since Proposition 47 was passed, even if we did see an increase during COVID. Those numbers are on the decline again. There's also a real reason to think that the shoplifting and retail theft concerns in particular are wildly exaggerated. Don't take it from me, take it from Walgreens, who admitted last year that they've been overstating the shoplifting concern in communications to their shareholders. That was reported in the New York Times. The CNN reported that independent researchers have found that corporate losses from shoplifting have fallen as a percentage of shrink, which is losses due to break-in and shoplifting. The League of Women Voters emphasizes that this will redirect money toward incarceration and away from treatment programs and other programs that decrease recidivism. Finally, I just want to touch why does this initiative mention homelessness? Only if you really want it, which is if you think that people are homeless because they are addicted to drugs, then you might think that harsher sentences will reduce homelessness by discouraging drug use. That's the connection to homelessness, which isn't really there. Anyway, a no vote on Proposition 36. I saw a hand.
Yes. I mean, we do see the theft increasing, you know, people walk in, take whatever they want and leave. And for me, reading this, treatment for certain drug crimes sounds something we want. So how could I be convinced that I should be able to go to this side of the said?
Sure.
I'm wobbling on it.
No, I understand, and I appreciate it. So California has a really good diversion program right now, at a variety of different ways that do divert people into treatment. What this wants to do is take people who maybe haven't completed that treatment and send them to prison instead. And there's no reason to believe that that's going to help. On the retail theft front, we are definitely not talking about the prominent, violent, or threatening thefts where, you know, mobs of people storm a store. That's not what we're talking about here. To give you an example, I'm sorry?
Doesn't that affect that?
No, it doesn't, because that's not necessarily nonviolent, right? This only applies to nonviolent crimes. So to give an example, we have a statute governing theft of over $400 of items, which could very well be a teenager shoplifting in Sephora. My wife helps work on the teenage diversion program. She sees a lot of shoplifting at Sephora. What it does is, if it's your third time, it increases that from a misdemeanor to a felony, which carries with it all kinds of serious consequences, not least of which is that you're sent to prison instead of the county jail if you get a sentence. But it also, carries all kinds of carry-on consequences. And that's not the way to discourage, especially a teenager, from shoplifting, right? Well, it doesn't do anything to address root causes of crime, and it doubles down on a strategy that has frankly failed. Okay, my turn.
No, I was just gonna say that, this is an example of what's wrong with proposition. Because they're trying to take very complex problems and give you a simple answer. And if you really do what Michael has done, which is to travel down that road, you find out there are all these other unintended consequences. And that's the nature of policymaking. That's why we have legislature. Okay, so this is an example of why we need to be suspicious about some of these things.
No problem, thank you, that's exactly correct. I saw your hand, yes.
If I can jump back to the front too for a moment. Did the lottery on the common on school in the sense that the bonds are supposed to?
So lottery funds do help. The question was about lottery funds, the funding of schools, and if there's a connection to this problem. No, and the answer is no. lottery funds do help fund our schools, but what bond measures do, especially this one, is they fund capital improvements to the school. So we're not talking about day-to-day operations or the hiring of teachers. We're talking about how the high school I graduated from, Central High School, needs a new roof, and how are we going to afford that? With this, 55 cents of every dollar or so, roughly, will be funded by the state instead of by, just the local government.
I was teaching school finance at the graduate level for years, okay? California built in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, great schools. We haven't fixed them. The roofs are falling in, they leak, air conditioning don't work. We invested a ton of money in these schools, and it's like we bought the house and we never did any maintenance on the house. Okay, so we are pissing away the value that we built in those earlier years because we're not doing maintenance. They call it deferred maintenance. It is huge. Okay, and it's a big problem for every school district. Okay, because the state does not give us the money to fix those things. Okay, and so we need to fix them.
And where does the lottery money go?
And lottery is a very small percentage of the income to school districts. Okay? The idea that this was going to make, this is an example of a proposition. They convinced you to vote for that proposition because they said it was really good for school. Well, you know, what they did is they gave us lottery money and took it out the back door some other way. The legislature took the money away. Okay? So it was just in and out. Okay? And why did it get done? Because the lottery, people spend a fortune of money circulating these land petitions and advertising on TV. So we have the lottery, okay? And it's a big business. Nothing wrong with that. We want to state lottery, fine. But the notion that it was really going to help school is BS.
Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you for listening to that article of information. Now, I think you're all here to expand those too.
Please straighten out your tables, leave the sign-up sheets for us, we really want them. Take several, and if you still have questions, info at engineers.org.
All right.